On the plane back to get a divorce with Yi Beichuan, we both perished in an accident. Before the plane crashed, he said, if I could start over, I would marry Wang Lehuan. Only with her do I feel that life is vibrant. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day he proposed to me. He picked up the bouquet in his hands, turned, and ran toward Wang Lehuan in the crowd, then knelt on one knee. Wang Lehuan, will you marry me? I know, he has also been reborn, as he wished, I let them be. But later, he regretted it and knelt down, begging me to change my mind. Yi Beichuan turned around and picked up the microphone. Thank you all for coming today to witness our love. In the past, I didn't know my true feelings, but now I do. The one I've always liked is Wang Lehuan. I missed my chance with her before. But for the rest of my life, I don't want to miss her again. I'm willing to spend the rest of my life with her, holding hands until we grow old. Wang Lehuan covered her mouth in disbelief, nodding repeatedly as tears of joy streamed down her face. The two of them embraced each other tightly. The clueless onlookers all cheered and offered their blessings. Yet someone still asked in confusion, wasn't Yi Beichuan supposed to propose to Meng Shuyu? How did it become Wang Lehuan? Exactly. Yi Beichuan said in the group chat that it was Meng Shuyu, and even asked us to come and cheer for her. What's going on now? Who knows? The two of them held each other tightly for a long time. After speaking, he looked at me calmly and said, forcing something that isn't meant to be won't make it sweet. Our past was a mistake, and I hope we can part on good terms. Classmate Meng, please don't cling to it. The ringing in my ears caused by the explosion gradually faded away, and I found myself reborn on the very day Yi Beichuan was supposed to propose to me in my previous life. Looking at Yi Beichuan in front of me and recalling his words in our last moments of the previous life, that if given another chance, he would choose Wang Lehuan, I realized that he had also been reborn. At this moment, his gaze was exactly the same as it had been when he was 38 in his previous life. Cold and rational, years of making decisions in the business world had given him a mature and steady demeanor. At this time, we were still sophomores in college. And Yi Beichuan and I had already been in a relationship for 2 years. He chose Valentine's Day to notify all our familiar classmates and friends, setting up a massive flower display on the sports field at night, preparing to propose to me. In fact, this proposal was also influenced by Wang Lehuan. Wang Lehuan was a year ahead of us, the lead singer of a band, beautiful, lively, outgoing, carefree, and unafraid to love or hate. At the orientation party, she fell in love with Yi Beichuan at first sight, repeatedly showed him kindness, brought him breakfast, gave him gifts, and deliberately created opportunities for them to be alone during student council work. Even knowing I existed, she would say, after all, we're not married yet. Life should be bold. When you meet someone you like, you should take the initiative. How can you know who the right person is without trying? Yi Beichuan always faced her with a cold expression. But she still stuck by his side with a bright smile. Yi Beichuan was fed up, so he planned to propose to me on Valentine's Day to make Wang Lehuan see clearly that he was going to marry me and that he would never like Wang Lehuan. In our previous life, when Yi Beichuan proposed to me, Wang Lehuan stood at the front of the crowd, wearing a bright red dress, passionate and bold, shouting at Yi Beichuan, Yi Beichuan, think carefully. If you really succeed in proposing, I will truly stop liking you from now on. I'm asking you one last time, are you willing to be with me or not? In our previous life, Yi Beichuan declared resolutely, the only wife I will have in this lifetime is Meng Shuyu. I only love Meng Shuyu, and I hope you, senior, will stop pestering me. But now, he says our relationship was a mistake and tells me not to cling to it. Facing the curious gazes of the surrounding crowd, I calmly looked at their tightly clasped hands. Of course. From this moment on, we break up. From now on, you go your way, and I'll go mine. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. Hearing my words, Yi Beichuan breathed a sigh of relief. Wang Lehuan excitedly jumped onto him, wrapping her legs around his waist. I knew it, you would be mine. But you took so long to agree to be with me. You have to make it up to me. Alright, what do you want as compensation? I want to experience the feeling of speeding on a motorcycle. No problem. It's nothing. I still want to go to the top of the mountain to sing. I want to taste all the drinks in every bar. Okay. Yi Beichuan looked at her with adoration, as if gazing upon a long-lost treasure. No problem. The crowd clapped and cheered in unison. Kiss, kiss, kiss. My roommate spoke up for me indignantly. Yi Beichuan is just too much. Isn't this publicly cheating? He talks so righteously, saying he finally understands his feelings. What was he doing earlier? Why wait until now to break up? Exactly. He gathered all the classmates here, originally to propose to Shuyu, but ended up breaking up with her in front of everyone and immediately moving on to the next one. What a scumbag. I turned to them and said, "Let's go. Didn't you say there's a bar opening today? Come on, my treat." I calmly drank one cup after another. They were all worried and tried to console me, saying I shouldn't be upset over such a scumbag. I smiled, hugged them, and said I was actually happy, truly happy to be free of him. To put it simply, Yi Beichuan and I were neighbors, childhood sweethearts from equally prominent families. An arranged marriage between our families was inevitable, and we were automatically paired together by both sides. We encouraged and supported each other all the way, and we agreed to start dating once we got into university and get married right after graduation. Everything fell into place naturally. After marriage, our lives gradually became filled with work, daily necessities, and our child's education, and the emotional connection between us slowly faded. He repeatedly said that life lacked passion, that it was too smooth and uninteresting. At that time, Wang Lehuan had become a somewhat famous rock singer, and her vibrant, passionate dancing at music festivals often caught Yi Beichuan's prolonged attention. He would repeatedly watch even just one video. Later, he deliberately found excuses to get close to her. At that time, Wang Lehuang followed a life principle of living in the moment and advocated for non-marriage. Having just broken up with her previous boyfriend, one intentionally approached, the other was carefree and unrestrained. Adult men and women don't need many words. They had several intimate encounters. When I found out, I naturally questioned him, but he said I could also find other men, and neither of us would interfere with the other. Looking at his indifferent eyes and the fact that he no longer showed the tenderness and affection he once had for me, I brought up the idea of divorce. At first, he didn't agree, especially since dividing our assets would be complicated. But in the end, he gave in under my insistence. He just looked at me with a mocking gaze and said, "It really is the happiest to be with someone free-spirited and unrestrained." The half-month I spent with Wang Lehuan brought me more joy than all the happiness in the first half of my life. The wild, uninhibited freedom I never had in my youth, I finally have it now. You, a child raised in a wealthy, aristocratic family, always follow the rules step by step. Your mind is forever rational. Your heart only cares about gains and losses. You'll never understand what it's like to live a passionate, unrestrained life. I just can't believe I never noticed how foolishly naive he could be before. He thought he had grasped the true meaning of life, but he didn't realize that without a material foundation, even the most carefree and unrestrained life is like a castle built on sand. It crumbles at the first gust of wind. Having drunk too much, I went to the restroom again. On the way, I passed by a loosely closed private room and happened to hear someone ask, "I have to say, Yi Beichuan, what you pulled off on the field today was totally unexpected. I heard you and Meng Shuyu grew up together. Do you really not like her anymore?" Yi Beichuan took a drag of his cigarette and blew out a smoke ring. "Childhood sweethearts, it's precisely because we grew up together and our families pushed us together that I thought I liked her, but it was just the affection of ordinary friends. Her rational and calm personality isn't the type I like at all." "Then who do you really like?" someone teased. Yi Beichuan pulled Wang Lehuan into an embrace. "Naturally, it's Lehuan." The hallway was narrow, and someone passing by bumped into me. The half-open door was accidentally pushed open by me, and the people inside looked at me, falling silent one by one. Yi Beichuan tapped his cigarette into the ashtray, frowning at me. "Didn't we already agree to break up? You said you wouldn't cling on desperately. What are you doing here now?" Wang Lehuan immediately sat on Yi Beichuan's lap, wrapping her arms around his neck to assert her dominance. "I told you from the start, you never know how things will end until the very last moment. Now that Beichuan has chosen me, you're not thinking of trying to win him back, are you?" Yi Beichuan patted her shoulder reassuringly. Don't worry, I never go back to my exes. I couldn't help but laugh. These two were really quite a match, equally full of themselves. Don't worry, I was just passing by. I don't deal in second-hand goods. The moment I turned around, I saw Yi Beichuan's face darken for an instant. The feelings that had long been worn away in my previous life were now completely gone, and I no longer felt any ripple of emotion toward the life they envisioned. But as I turned around, I bumped right into someone's embrace. Instinctively, I placed my hand on their chest for support. It's quite firm. Looking up, it was actually Jiyu Nanfeng, the crown prince of the Jiyu family in the northern part of the city. 5 years older than me, had just finished his studies abroad this year and taken over the family business. In the dimly lit bar, he wore a black shirt buttoned all the way up. His cold and handsome face illuminated by the shifting lights, exuding an aura of extreme restraint. He was slightly lowering his head, gazing over with downcast eyes. Realizing I was still lying on his chest, I coughed awkwardly and stepped back to apologize. At that moment, someone else in the private room spoke up. Actually, Meng Shuyu is quite beautiful. Since you've broken up, Yi Beichuan, I'm going to try to pursue her. Whatever, let me ask a personal question. Did you two ever, Yi Beichuan sneered. She's very conservative, insisting on getting engaged before anything can happen. So boring and rigid. Heh. Then I'll have to take on the challenge. Wang Lehuan's dissatisfied voice came through. If you propose successfully tonight, won't you get to have the beauty all to yourself? Right now, you're the beauty. To celebrate us being together, how about coming to my place tonight? Hate. The man in front had an indistinct expression. His voice magnetic. Broke up. Are you single now? Listening to the topic inside, I frowned in disgust. Too much alcohol had built up in my stomach, and I couldn't hold it anymore. I casually responded and then hurriedly headed toward the restroom. Just as I was about to bump into someone again, my waist was grabbed by someone. I couldn't hold on any longer and vomited with a splat all over the shirt of the person in front of me. The black shirt instantly gained a three-dimensional pattern. Sorry, wow, there was no need to go to the bathroom now. Everything was vomited out all at once. And both of their clothes and shoes were completely soiled. I covered my face, feeling utterly embarrassed for the first time. Listening to him tell the waiter about the cleaning, he asked me if I wanted to book a room upstairs first to go freshen up. I nodded. Perhaps I had drunk too much and vomited too suddenly. My legs felt a bit weak. He said excuse me and picked me up by the waist, carrying me into the elevator. After freshening up and coming out, I was surprised to see Jiyu Nanfeng still standing in the same spot. He explained that this room only had this one bathroom, so I quickly stepped aside. Just then, my roommate called and said the dormitory closing time was almost up, and it was time to head back. I could only briefly explain and let them go back first, saying I would book a room at the hotel later. At that moment, someone knocked on the door, and 2 sets of clothes were delivered, 1 for men and 3 for women, along with some honey water. I stared at the glass door of the bathroom, wondering how to repay this favor. Listening to the sound of running water from the shower, I suddenly remembered that I had casually tossed my underwear into the sink after bathing, and the bathrobe and towels were now all on me. I clenched my fists and screamed silently. In my previous life, I almost never made mistakes, but now, right after being reborn, I had already experienced 2 embarrassing incidents. It was truly devastating. I hurried out to the front desk to book a room, only to find that all the rooms were fully booked, and there were no bathrobes left either. However, the front desk did manage to find a bath towel and a hand towel. Hearing the sound of water inside stop, I quickly moved closer and said I had brought a new towel. I turned my back and handed it to him through the door crack, accidentally brushing against his fingers, which made me flinch involuntarily. When he came out drying his hair, I saw the 6-pack abs exposed above the towel, with water droplets still trickling down. Maybe it was because of the alcohol. My face felt unbearably hot. I quickly turned my back and said someone had brought clothes and honey water. He paused while drying his hair. I didn't know your size, so I bought 3 different sizes. See which one fits you. Honey water helps with hangovers, so I bought it for you. Thank you. Then I said gloomily that the hotel was fully booked, and I didn't know why there were so many people staying at hotels. He thought for a moment, raised his eyebrows, and said, "It might be because of Valentine's Day." I suddenly remembered that too. As soon as the topic came up, the atmosphere seemed a bit awkward. I smiled awkwardly and said, "I'd better go check out other hotels so I don't disturb you and your girlfriend." He walked over to me, his six-pack abs directly facing me as I sat on the sofa, making me feel a bit parched. He looked at me seriously and said, "I don't have a girlfriend." He reached past me to grab the hairdryer and added, "I suppose other hotels are probably full too. And it's not safe for a girl to be going back and forth looking for a hotel this late at night." I frowned. If I went home at this hour, my parents would definitely press for details about what happened, especially my mom, who has read too many news stories about campus bullying. If she saw me coming home late, she might start overthinking. If I told them about Yi Beichen, they probably wouldn't be able to sleep all night. "Actually, you can stay here for now, you take the bed, and I'll sleep on the sofa." I looked at him with a subtle expression. He couldn't help but laugh and explained, "Our families have business dealings with each other. Don't worry, I won't do anything to you." Speaking of this, I remember that in my previous life, he never got married, but the group's business developed extremely well under his leadership. There were always rumors in the circle that he didn't like women, or that he had some physical ailment. Thinking of this, I felt relieved, since I don't have a partner. There's no need to worry about anything. And looking at his sturdy chest, six-pack abs, and long, powerful legs, especially those handsome eyes and brows, even if something did happen, I wouldn't be at a loss. Once I relaxed, the drowsiness from the alcohol started to set in. He finished drying his hair and looked at my long curls. "Aren't you going to dry yours?" I touched my hair. It was already half dry, took the hairdryer, and gave it a quick blow-dry. Strangely, the more I dried it, the more awake I felt. The two of us sat in slightly awkward silence. I looked at my phone for a while and said, "It's too late, let's rest first, with the lights off." My senses became sharper. Just as sleepiness began to set in, I suddenly heard some ambiguous sounds coming from nearby. Instantly, I remembered that the hotel was fully booked for Valentine's Day. Perhaps it's because my period is coming soon, and my mood has become a bit irritable. I lay with my eyes open, listening to the sounds from the other side of the wall, sensing another presence in the room, and softly asked, "Are you asleep?" No, maybe it was the alcohol. Maybe it was the desire to indulge after having faced death once, or perhaps the atmosphere was right, the mood was right. By the moonlight, I looked at the exposed calf on the sofa and swallowed hard. "The bed is quite big. Do you want to come and sleep here?" His voice grew low and deep. "Do you know what you're saying?" Suddenly, I remembered the rumors from my past life. "Are you perhaps not capable?" Medical science is quite advanced these days. If there really is an issue, you shouldn't avoid seeking treatment, otherwise, you'll end up single for the rest of your life. Feeling the bed sink on his side, he leaned over me. "Is this a challenge? You can feel for yourself whether I'm capable or not." Feeling the heat beneath me, my body tensed up, and I boldly reached out my hand. "We'll only know after trying." A night of ups and downs. It seems the rumors were wrong. Not only is he capable, but he's very capable. The next day, I woke up with a sore lower back. No one was in the room, so I tidied up briefly and headed out. Right at the hotel entrance, I ran into Jiu Nanfeng. He pointed to a few food containers in his hand and said, "I went to grab some breakfast. Are you heading back to school now? I can give you a ride." Feeling unwell, I didn't put on any airs and sat in his car, sipping milk and nibbling on a sandwich. Just before getting out of the car, he picked up his phone and waved it. "Want to add me on WeChat?" His fingers tapped rhythmically on the steering wheel, and the look he gave me was full of aggression. As a 38-year-old soul, I naturally understood what it meant. After thinking for a moment, I smiled and said, "Sure." On the way to the classroom, I ran into Yi Beichuan and Wang Lehuan. I ignored them and continued walking forward, but Yi Beichuan blocked my path. "Where were you last night?" "This is my business. Isn't it a bit too much for you to interfere, Yi?" His expression darkened. "Someone saw you being carried by a man to a hotel upstairs yesterday. Who is that man? What happened between you two?" I sneered. Who I'm with is my own business. If I remember correctly, we broke up yesterday. The way you're talking makes me think you still have feelings for me. Wang Lehuan's expression also changed as she pulled her arm away from Yi Beichuan. If she wants to go to a hotel with someone, let her. Why do you care so much? Don't tell me you actually still have feelings for her. Yi Beichuan took her arm and coaxed her. I was just concerned because we're neighbors. My feelings for you are as clear as day, and right now, you're the only one in my heart. Otherwise, why would I have chosen you in front of so many people yesterday? Yi Beichuan looked at me calmly. Don't misunderstand, I was the one who initiated the breakup yesterday. And I was worried that you might be acting out and seeking others just to provoke me because you couldn't let go. As long as that's not the case, it's fine. I sneered. Sometimes it's better not to be too narcissistic. You're not the only man in the world, you've started a new life, and naturally, I'll have a new boyfriend too. Ignoring his furrowed brow, I turned and walked away. He's not only overly narcissistic but also hypocritical, just because Wang Lehuan pursued him for 2 years. He thinks his charm is irresistible. The discussions about the dramatic proposal scene on Valentine's Day gradually faded away at school. The number of CP fans for Yi Beichuan and Wang Lehuan is gradually increasing. He rode his bicycle, carrying her through the campus, feeling the summer breeze. Just like the male and female leads in a campus idol drama, they kissed on the mountaintop. Swearing to love each other for a lifetime, they rode their motorcycle, speeding down the road late at night. Experiencing the thrill brought by speed, they sang loudly by the seaside at night. Feeling the freedom of life, they tattooed each other's initials on their waists to express their intense love. By this time, Wang Lehuan had already gained some fans on social media through her singing. Additionally, she frequently posted couple photos, couple videos, and passionate love captions, which attracted a crowd of onlookers. Many people say they are a perfect match, just like the male and female leads in a novel, and just as he had wished in his previous life, Yi Beichuan finally experienced a passionate, vibrant, and unrestrained youth. When Yi Beichuan posted a photo with Wang Lehuan on his social media feed, both families learned the whole story of what had happened. Mom and Dad were extremely angry. I could only try to console them, saying that it's better to bring such matters to light early rather than having infidelity occur after marriage. To put their minds at ease, I also told them that I don't have any feelings for Yi Beichuan now, so they don't need to worry about this matter. Mother looked at me with relief and nodded. You've always been rational. When it comes to matters of the heart, you must always keep a part of yourself reserved, so that you can retreat unscathed when faced with changes, Father pondered. It seems we need to change our partner for the project in the northern part of the city this time. In my previous life, Yi Beichuan and I were in a relationship, so both families always prioritized each other in business collaborations. I remained silent. In my previous life, we chose the Yi family for the project in the northern part of the city, but I knew they weren't the most suitable. It was only because of my relationship with Yi Beichuan that we thought it was better to keep the benefits within the family, while also strengthening the ties between our two families. But since we cannot become a family in this lifetime, we should just focus on who we can cooperate with for greater benefits. My studies are not very demanding, so in my free time, I go to the company for internships and work. I also frequently attend business banquets to broaden my horizons and build connections. This weekend, I attended the 80th birthday celebration of an elder. After greeting my father and a few elders, I walked over to the dessert area to take a short break. At that moment, Yi Beichuan's younger brother approached with a glass of wine and said, "Miss Meng, you look absolutely stunning in that outfit today." I thanked him politely. He took a sip of his wine, looked at me, and asked, "I heard that President Meng hasn't found a partner for the project in the northern part of the city yet." I shook my head and said, "I don't know, my father is in charge of this matter." He chuckled softly and said, "My older brother really threw away a winning hand. He lost the watermelon, and might not even pick up a sesame seed. How dare he be absent on an occasion like today?" I didn't comment. He looked at me with a teasing smile and asked, "Speaking of which, I'm only 2 years younger than Miss Meng. Why don't you consider me instead?" I politely declined. making an excuse that I wanted to stay a while longer to send them away. A low, husky, and magnetic voice came from beside me. Miss Meng is quite popular. Looking at the newcomer, my fingers tightened around the cup as I said, Mr. Gu, eavesdropping on others is not the behavior of a gentleman. He leaned in slightly and whispered to me, a gentleman would remain unmoved in the face of temptation, but when it comes to you, Miss Meng, I truly cannot be a gentleman. The approaching figure instantly reminded me of that absurd and chaotic night. I swirled the glass in my hand and said, what do you mean by that, Mr. Gu? That was the youngest son of the Yi family, wasn't it? He's too young. If you're looking for a partner, Miss Meng, you might consider me. What do you think? I looked at the man exuding mature charm before me and thought of his business maneuvers in the coming years. I had to admit he was highly capable and shrewd. If I were to consider him as a partner, I was just about to answer when I heard a faint murmur in the distance. I turned to look, only then did I realize that Yi Beichuan had actually come. Not only had he come, but he had also brought Wang Lehuan along. The two of them must have just returned on a motorcycle. Still dressed in their riding gear, which stood out sharply among the crowd of people in suits and formal attire, Yi Beichuan's father was speaking to him in a low voice, looking quite angry. Wang Lehuang, however, was completely at ease, holding onto Yi Beichuan's arm and looking around here and there. After greeting the elderly gentleman celebrating his birthday, Yi Beichuan led Wang Lehuang over. Aren't you hungry? Didn't you just have fried noodles? Shall I try the desserts here? Let's see if what's served at rich people's banquets is different from ordinary shops. All right, as you wish. The two of them were intimate as if no one else was around. When they saw me, Yi Beichuan gave a faint nod. Wang Lehuan picked up one piece here and another piece there. He picked up his phone and took a selfie. Finally, holding a piece of pastry, he walked up to me and spun around. You rich people really care about ceremony. For someone's birthday party, you have to wear gowns and suits. Pretending to be all proper, someone nearby couldn't stand it anymore. This is how you dress for a party to show respect. But you came here in a biker outfit with messy hair. Isn't that disrespectful? Wang Lehuan touched her own hair. This is my carefree style. The elderly gentleman who just celebrated his birthday even praised us young people for being energetic and full of life, saying we're sincere and straightforward. But what about you all? Aren't you tired of pretending every single day? As soon as these words were spoken, the people who heard them looked at her with anger in their eyes, and even directed some of that anger toward Yi Beichuan. Yi Beichuan shielded Wang Lehuan behind him and offered a cool apology. Lehuan has a sincere and straightforward personality. I hope everyone won't take it to heart. After all, it wouldn't be good to cause a scene at the old gentleman's birthday banquet. In his previous life, he held a high position where others flattered him, and even if he was cold and indifferent, no one would say anything about it. But now he's just a college student who hasn't entered the company and holds no position, yet he speaks so coldly, which immediately made people around him look at him with dissatisfaction. A peer asked, Yi Beichuan, what do you even like about her? Clearly, Meng Shuyu has excellent family background, looks, and abilities. For a moment, all the surrounding gazes fell on me. Yi Beichuan first frowned and glanced at me. Meng Shuyu is good, but in my eyes, Lehuan is the best. He immediately took Wang Lehuan's hand and said that what he liked most about her was her straightforwardness and passion, and that he felt very relaxed and happy when he was with her. Wang Lehuan even boldly gave him a passionate kiss right on the spot. This caused the expressions of everyone around to turn unpleasant. It was truly inappropriate to behave so rudely on such a formal occasion. Someone sneered. Are they filming an idol drama here? I heard that after the banquet, Yi Beichuan's father gave him a big scolding. He was told to break up with Wang Lehuan and apologized to me, as only I could provide him with career support. Yi Beichuan disagreed, saying he had the ability and didn't need to rely on a woman, and they ended up parting on bad terms. I actually felt relieved. Yi Beichuan was already on my blacklist, so he should just stick firmly with Wang Lehuan. Whatever you do, don't come looking for me again, or I'll be so disgusted I won't be able to sleep. In the end, father decided to collaborate with the Jiyu family on the project in the northern part of the city. Father has nothing but praise for Jiyu Nanfeng. Because of this, Ji Nanfeng even came to our house for a meal. This afternoon, I plan to go back to school, and Ji Nanfeng said he could give me a ride since it's on his way. As I was about to get out of the car, the door was still locked. I looked at him in confusion. He tapped his fingers on the steering wheel, his gaze carrying a hint of aggression. Miss Meng, you still haven't given me an answer about the banquet hall issue. I suddenly remembered and narrowed my eyes at him. Are you serious? Do I look like I'm joking? Seeing his slightly nervous expression, I smiled and said, all right. He stared at me blankly. What, Mr. Gu, didn't you say you wanted to date me? I agree. If I had to choose someone for an arranged marriage, Ji Nanfeng is indeed a good choice. At least in my previous life, he remained single and had no scandals. He stared at me intently. You really agreed? I smiled and brushed my finger against his chin. Mr. Gu is handsome and capable. Agreeing to you should be a normal thing. Are you surprised, Mr. Gu? He grabbed my hand. I can hardly believe it. I leaned in, kissed his lips, and gently bit them. Do you believe me now? His deep eyes surged with emotion as he pressed the back of my head, taking control. We didn't part until we were both breathless. He caressed my lips. Summer break is almost here. What are you planning to do? I originally planned to intern at my family's company during the summer break. But looking at Ji Nanfeng, I suddenly changed my mind. How about interning at your company for 2 months? He smiled and said, don't want to be apart from me. I told the truth, as everyone knows. President Gu is highly capable. I'd like to learn from you. Will you give me the chance? With the greatest pleasure. And so, during the summer vacation, I worked as an assistant by Ji Nanfeng's side, truly experiencing his keen insight into industry trends and his decisive approach to handling matters. He is truly a workaholic. Working overtime until midnight is a common occurrence for him. Moreover, he is highly disciplined, waking up at 6 every morning to start exercising. He also possesses remarkable self-control. Even when attending dinners where beautiful women showed him attention, he politely declined their advances. I teased him, asking if he really wasn't tempted at all. He replied that if he really accepted the benefits, he would have to give up a few percentage points. For him, the contract was still the most important. If I hadn't felt his energy at night, I would have doubted whether he really had any issues. Once, after the fact, I asked him, if he hadn't met me, would he have remained single like that forever? He thought for a moment and said he didn't know, because he had already planned the next 20 years for the GU group. He might have been busy with work, or he might have ended up with someone suitable if he had met them. I couldn't help but think to myself, you've been single until your 40s and still haven't met the right person. I asked him why he chose me. He said he didn't know either. The first time he saw me was at a banquet, and he later inquired about me. But at that time I was already with Yi Beichuan. It wasn't until he learned that we had broken up that he decided to make his move. Time has unknowingly passed by 5 years. After graduating from university, I went abroad for further studies on Ji Nanfeng's suggestion. Combined with what I learned by his side, I feel that my current abilities are very strong. I am becoming more and more adept at managing the company, launching projects and appointing personnel. In the year I returned to my home country, Ji Nanfeng successfully proposed to me. During these 5 years, Yi Beichuan and Wang Lehuan have been living a carefree and unrestrained life. They wore a suit and wedding dress at their graduation, and their graduation wedding even made it to the trending searches. It was praised as the best representation of love. In this lifetime, Wang Lehuan, who was once a staunch believer in non-marriage, married the man she pursued for 2 years, and Yi Beichuan, as he had said in his previous life, married the passionate and vibrant Wang Lehuan. We have different pursuits and have lived the lifestyles we desired. I thought this was the end. However, life is like compiling a book of wrong answers. There will always be someone who personally overturns everything they've done before. Yi Beichuan has started working at a company, while Wang Lehuan has become a rock singer. I heard from friends that they have broken up and gotten back together several times. As their fanbase continues to grow, coupled with Yi Beichuan's status, their romantic stories frequently make it to the trending searches. I understand, life should be lived with passion, but recently, the news of their breakup has been relentless. Someone captured a scene of Yi Beichuan and Wang Lehuan arguing. Someone also released a video of Wang Lehuan dancing intimately with another man at a bar. I simply treated it as gossip and quickly moved on to focus on my busy work and wedding preparations. After work that day, as Jiyu Nanfeng was holding my hand and walking out, my phone rang with an unexpected number. I answered the call and, hearing what the person on the other end said, glanced toward a spot not far away. Yi Beichuan was standing there, holding his phone and looking at me. Jiyu Nanfeng tightened his grip on my hand, and I patted him reassuringly, saying, "Wait for me. It's probably something work-related, I'll be back soon." We're all in the same circle, and I've met Yi Beichuan a few times, mostly in work settings. He kissed my forehead as if declaring his ownership, and I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Walking up to Yi Beichuan, I could smell the strong scent of smoke on him. I looked at him calmly and said, "It would be better for Mr. Yi to discuss work matters during office hours." He gave a slight smile, glanced at me, and asked, "How have you been lately?" I raised an eyebrow and replied, "I'm doing fine. He doesn't seem to be here to talk about work, and I don't need to stay any longer." I was just about to say goodbye and leave. He lit another cigarette and said, "I haven't been doing too well." I frowned at his cigarette and subtly took 2 steps back. From his outpouring, I learned that ever since he graduated and joined the company, he has had less time to spend with Wang Lehuan, but Wang Lehuan still often called friends to go out and party, having a blast and living a carefree, unrestrained life. Sometimes she would get close to some men, and Yi Beichuan would naturally question her, leading to increasingly frequent arguments between the two. Wang Lehuan said Yi Beichuan didn't spend time with her, while Yi Beichuan said Wang Lehuan didn't understand the burden he carried to support the family. Wang Lehuan said it's fine to enjoy the moment. Why bother earning so much money? You can't take it with you when you're born, and you can't take it with you when you die. But Yi Beichuan doesn't think that way deep down. For him, money is the foundation of everything. In the past, his family supported him during his studies, but now that he has graduated and joined the company, he has to earn all the money himself. Moreover, Yi Beichuan has 2 older brothers and 2 younger brothers, 2 of whom are illegitimate children but were acknowledged by old Master Yi and brought back to the Yi family. The internal conflicts are also intense. Yi Beichuan is of average ability, and in his previous life, it was only with the support of my Meng family that he managed to secure most of the power within the group. This time, without my help. Even though he has memories from his previous life, his situation is not good. He smiled mockingly and said, "I was just too frustrated and wanted to talk to someone. I didn't expect to end up here. Do you think I'm a failure right now?" I said calmly, "Everyone has the life they want and the path they wish to take. Since you've chosen this path, whether it's success or failure depends on how you see it. Your current situation has nothing to do with me. I have a fiancé now, Mr. Yi. Next time you want to confide in someone, it's better to find someone else." My partner gets jealous easily. Thinking of Jiyu Nanfeng, I couldn't help but smile. Yi Beichuan stared at me blankly, wanting to say more, but I interrupted him. "If there's nothing else, Mr. Yi, I'll be leaving now, goodbye." As soon as I got into the car, Jiyu Nanfeng grabbed me and kissed me fiercely. Facing his possessive gaze, I smiled and gently bumped his forehead. "Don't worry, I'm not one to go back to old flames. After all, with a towering tree like President Jiyu here, I wouldn't dare let go." The wedding took place as scheduled 2 months later. The wedding scene was grand and dreamlike. The moment my father placed my hand in Jiyu Nanfeng's, I saw his eyes well up with tears. At the moment the host announced the exchange of rings, he put the ring on my finger, kissed my forehead, and said solemnly, "I love you." I also put the ring on his finger, looking at his beaming smile, and said, "I love you too." In this world, there are those who may betray your affection, but there are also those who hold a heart of genuine sincerity. Those with true hearts should not be let down. So, Jiyu Nanfeng, in this lifetime, I choose you. Even if I hold back a part of myself, all the affection I have left, I give entirely to you. If you do not betray me, I will stand by you to the very end. Life after marriage remained simple and happy, however, at this time. News broke online that Wang Lehuan had checked into a hotel with someone after getting drunk. The time and location were clearly stated, and netizens were eagerly following the drama online. Yi Baichuan was cornered by reporters at the entrance of the Yi Corporation, and his entire demeanor appeared quite haggard. The reporters' questions grew increasingly sharp, and in the live broadcast footage, he angrily threw down a reporter's microphone, pushed through the crowd, and walked away. I briefly skimmed through this piece of news and continued scrolling to read the latest policy updates, but then my phone rang. I looked at the protagonist who had just been live-streaming, frowned, and answered the call. The person on the other end was breathing heavily. "Shuyu, I regret it, can we get back together?" I reminded him, "Yi Baichuan, even if we didn't both have our own partners now, I still wouldn't marry you, hehe, but in our previous life, you were my wife. We are the ones who should be together." My heart skipped a beat. His tone was way off. "I don't understand what you're saying. If it's not about work, don't call me again. My current husband and I are deeply in love, so please stop disturbing my life." After saying that, I hung up and blocked him. But a sense of unease lingered in my heart. Unable to focus on work, I packed up my things and headed home, walking to the parking lot. The moment I sat in the car, something felt off. I glanced at the rearview mirror and widened my eyes in shock. I immediately pushed the door to get out, but a needle was jabbed into my neck, and I passed out. When I opened my eyes again, I saw Yi Baichuan's back as he stood there. I sat weakly, looking around at my surroundings. It was actually the rooftop of the school. My body was still intact. "Yi Baichuan, what are you doing? Do you realize this is kidnapping?" Yi Baichuan turned around and knelt in front of me, his voice gentle. "Shuyu, I know I was wrong. You are the one who suits me best. Wang Lehuan is only good for dating, but you are the one who should be my wife. Can we start over?" I thought to myself, that's possible, but let's talk somewhere else. He stared at me intently and said, "You're lying. Shuyu has always been so clever. I knew you wouldn't be willing. Changing locations to escape, is that it?" He stood up and smiled indifferently. "It doesn't matter if you don't agree, Shuyu. Do you know about past lives and present lives? In our previous life, we were husband and wife. We lived very happily, with both a son and a daughter, and we were the envy of everyone. Everything in this life is a mistake. Now, I want to restore everything to how it was before." My heart skipped a beat. What did he mean by that? I felt the phone in my pocket and secretly sent a message under the table. Yi Baichuan smiled indifferently. "It doesn't matter if you make a call. Even if the police come, nothing will change. We'll all just go back to the beginning." Hearing this, I immediately dialed the emergency number and explained the current situation. I called Jiyu Nanfeng again and asked him to bring Wang Lehuan along, thinking that she might be able to talk some sense into Yi Baichuan in his current state. Yi Baichuan listened to my call and glanced at the time on his watch, saying there was still half an hour left. As I looked at the time on my phone, I suddenly remembered that in my previous life, the plane crash had occurred exactly half an hour later. I stared at Yi Baichuan in horror. "Are you insane, Yi Baichuan? You've already chosen the life you wanted. Just because things aren't going well, are you trying to recklessly start over by risking your life? If you want to die, I don't. Don't drag me down with you. I want to take a couple of steps, but my body feels weak." Yi Baichuan half carried me to the edge of the rooftop, looking at the playground in the distance. "You know," he said, "when I was reborn, it was right when I was proposing to you. If it had been successful, we would already be married by now, and we would be very happy." I let out a cold laugh. "Would we really be happy, if we had actually ended up together? You would probably still be thinking about Wang Lehuan, wouldn't you?" He was silent for a moment. "So, you've been reborn too. No wonder you were so calm when I proposed to Wang Lehuan. That's perfect. Let's go back to the beginning together and start over. This time, I promised to spend the rest of my life with you properly." I said word by word. "I don't want to. Even if we go back to our previous life, I wouldn't be with you. You know my personality well enough. With these memories, I would only stay far away from you." 20 minutes later, Jiyu Nanfeng arrived with the police, and Wang Lehuan came along as well. Jiyu Nanfeng looked at me anxiously. "Yi Baichuan, I can be your hostage. Let Shuyu come over." Yi Baichuan shook his head. Jiyu Nanfeng clenched his fists tightly. "Whatever conditions you have, Just state them. Yi Beichuan still shook his head. Finally, Wang Lehuan cursed loudly. Yi Beichuan, I knew you still had feelings for Meng Shuyu. What? Are you planning to die together as lovers or something? Yi Beichuan glanced at Wang Lehuan and sneered. Looking back now, the days I spent with you seemed happy, but they were actually quite boring. It was either drinking or clubbing, nothing interesting. Wang Lehuan also sneered. Then break up, it's meaningless to say that now. Weren't you the one who played the hardest back then? Now that you're tired of it, you say it's meaningless. I really regret marrying you back then. If I could do it over, I would stay far away from you. Yi Beichuan nodded. That's well said, I just want to do it over again. He glanced at the time and murmured, it's time. My heart skipped a beat. Yi Beichuan, even if we could do it over, I would never choose you. He took a deep look and said, I think you're right. If you go back with your memories, you definitely won't forgive me. So, he released me. I'll go back alone. I will change the ending, start over, and reclaim everything that belongs to me. I collapsed weakly, and Jiyu Nanfeng rushed over, picked me up, and ran downstairs. Only when we reached the ground did I see the ambulance parked nearby, and the airbags on the ground. I stayed in the hospital for a month before my body fully recovered. During that time, I heard that Yi Beichuan didn't die. Instead, he became completely paralyzed and suffered brain damage, unable to recognize anyone. There is almost no possibility of a cure. Wang Lehuan sued Yi Beichuan for divorce, and in the end, the Yi family stepped in to dissolve their marriage. Having forgotten everything, Yi Beichuan spent the rest of his life in a nursing home. Jiyu Nanfeng and I had 2 children. One took his surname, and the other took mine. We walked hand in hand through the years. Those who give their hearts sincerely receive sincere rewards in return.